Good day and welcome to Scholars Universal School online classes for SS1. Today we'll be doing biology. Another biology, we'll be talking about microorganisms around us. So before we go further into today's topic, let's learn what are microorganisms. Microorganisms are tiny organisms which cannot be seen with the naked eye except with aid of microscope. So these are organisms that you can't see with your eye, but through microscopes you can see them. So that's why they got the name microorganisms. The branch of biology which involves the study of organisms which are microscopic in size, that means small in size that the eye can't see, is called microbiology. So those who study microbiology are known as microbiologists because they study the growth, the feeding pattern of microorganisms. So those are who give us information about microorganisms. Microorganisms are found everywhere in soil, air, water, on our clothes, body, inside our body, and so on. So they are almost everywhere you go. They are present. Some are beneficial and or harmless, while some are pathogenic or harmful. So these beneficial ones are what we use in producing goods and other stuffs. While those that are pathogenic or harmful, they cause harm to our body system. So let's learn the groups of microorganisms. We have five groups of microorganisms, which are the viruses, bacteria, the protozoa, the fungi, and the algae. In your last term, you did or first term work, you guys did classification of animal of organisms, where you have been told that we have five kingdoms: Monera, Protista, fungi, uh, plantae, and animalia. So under the Monera we have the bacteria, but the viruses are not considered as both living and non-living because they show characteristics of being a living cell and a non-living cell. The bacteria are under the Monera, but due to latest science research, they don't believe bacteria is meant to belong to the Monera. Protozoa is present under the family of the kingdom Protista. Fungi is a kingdom on its own, and algae being under kingdom Plantae but under phylum Talophyta is where algae belongs to. So let's learn some of these microorganisms. To start with, we'll learn viruses. Viruses are microorganisms too tiny to be seen with ordinary microscope except the use of electron microscope. So viruses are tinier than other microorganisms because they can't be seen with ordinary microscope unless we use an electron microscope. That means what the electron microscope is able to see something very small to see with the eyes. So viruses are the smallest and simplest microorganisms which do not have a cell structure. That means they don't have what we call cell structure. Their cells are not constructed in a way that we can differentiate parts of it, and they are the smallest and simplest. That means they don't have complex structures present in them. They are just simple and they are the smallest. Some are round, some are spherical depending on the shape. Each cell consists of strand of nuclear protein. Viruses are grouped into DNA and RNA viruses. That means the viruses that have DNA, which is the oxyribonucleic acid, are the ones found under the DNA virus, while those with ribonucleic acid are the one found under RNA. So the nucleic acid being present in a virus determines whether it is DNA or RNA. Some are enveloped or without envelope. That means they are being covered in a case, while some are naked. Examples of viruses are coronavirus, which is out today, Toga virus, and Picona virus, and there are so more examples to see. Now let's learn the diagram of a virus. As I said, they are the smallest and simplest. So you can see that there is no much labeling of the diagram due to being simple. There's no like there are not many structures present in them. So we have the wall of protein. So you can see that this one is an envelope type of virus. That means is with a covered it is with a cover or with an envelope. And we have the strand of nucleic material. So as I said, the viruses are now differentiated into DNA or RNA depending on the nucleic material present in them. So this one might either be a DNA or RNA, but once you know the nucleic material present in a virus, you say whether it's DNA or an RNA type of virus. So let's learn the next type of microorganism, which is bacteria. Bacteria bacteria are microorganisms that can be easily be seen with a light microscope. That means if you use a light microscope, you will see a bacterium, which is the singular. Bacteria is the plural. So they are microorganisms that can be easily seen with a light microscope. They occur in clusters or colonies. That means they occur together, they pack up together, or they occur in different colonies, in different groups. A bacterium has slimy capsule, cell wall, a cell membrane, a dense cytoplasmic granules with no nucleus but has a nucleic material called DNA which spreads throughout the cell. So unlike the virus, the bacterium has a slimy capsule, a cell wall. That means you can draw the diagram of a bacterium and label different structures in it, unlike the virus which I said is the simplest, because you can only show whether it is enveloped or it is either DNA or RNA in the virus. But unlike viruses, a bacterium can be drawn and labeled. You can use different characteristics to place it under any group. So you can see that there's presence of cell wall, a cell membrane, a dense cytoplasmic granules with no nucleus. If you should remember in your classification of organisms, if you know Monera, they used to say that they do not have true nucleus. The reason being that it's not that they don't have nucleus, they have nucleus, but it is being scattered. The DNA material is not present in the nucleus, so it is scattered throughout the cell. So that's why they say they don't have true nucleus. So let's look at the image of a bacterium. You can see the slimy capsule, which might not be always present in most bacterium, but there is presence of cell wall, cell membrane, nucleic material. As you can see the nucleic material here, the dense cytoplasmic material or dense cytoplasmic granules. So you can see the diagram of a bacterium and you can see how it is more being complex than the virus. So let's look at the types of bacteria we have. We have bacteria based on the use of oxygen. Under this group, there exist three types. They are the aerobic bacteria. These are bacteria that require oxygen for their respiration. Anaerobic bacteria Anaerobic bacteria, these are bacteria which do not require oxygen for their respiration. Yeah, aerobic really mean that there is need for oxygen to undergo respiration, while those that do not require oxygen are known as anaerobic. Then we have the facultative bacteria. These are bacteria that can live under aerobic and anaerobic conditions. All these ones, they can live anywhere, where there is air or where there is no air, or where there is oxygen or where there is no oxygen. They are good to go. But unlike the aerobic, is only where there is presence of oxygen, that's where they can undergo respiration. The anaerobic, where there is no presence of oxygen. But the facultative, they are the one staying at the middle, being that they can undergo respiration where there is presence of oxygen and they can still undergo their respiration where there is no oxygen. So these are questions for you to do today on this class. We have number one, we have what are microorganisms, name the groups and so on. Then submit the assignment to the email given to you on the platform, and thanks for watching. Till we meet in the next class where we discuss more on microorganisms. Like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for being in the class.
This guy.
Master.
Cho tôi vì mà là bên của quên rồi